Hi, Intro to Algebra. So remember, for problems like these, you want all the variables on one side and the constants or the regular numbers on the other side. So I moved first, I subtracted 3x from both sides, and then I added 7 to both sides, and there's my answer. For this next one, you can see we're going to have to do the distributive property and multiply everything in the parentheses by -2. Remember, negative times a negative is a positive. Now this is just a two-step equation, so this is like the other one that we just did, but be careful, we really can't add 3 to both sides because it is being divided by that 2. So we want to take care of the division by 2 first. These 2's cancel out or make 1. And remember, you can always plug it back in. For this one, we're going to have to be careful with these like terms first. And I solved just like a two-step equation. Here's another distributive property. Remember that 1x is the same as x, so I've got x equals 10. For these next ones, you're going to type. So remember here, this one asks for the perimeter, so the perimeter has to add up all 4 sides. So there are 2 sides that have x as their length, x plus x, that's the top and the bottom. And then I've got the 20s for the 2 left and right sides, and it says that the perimeter altogether is 50 feet. So there's my equation. And you might want to simplify that. So that's going to be 2x plus 40 equals 50. Now I bet you could even solve that in your head, right? Because 2x is going to have to be equal to 10. 10 plus 40 is 50. So what does x have to be? X is going to have to be 5. And let's just make sure that really works. If we put that in, I've got 20 and 5. That makes 25 for these 2 sides. So it would be 50 altogether, 50 feet. So maybe I'll even add my units here, just to be complete. Okay, so this says the area. So remember, area is length times width. So first let's write the equation. And then it says to find the value of x. So I'm going to go ahead and do the distributive property there. And in my head, I'm going to think I'm going to add 30 to both sides. So now I've got 10x equals 90. And now I'm going to think, I got to divide by 10, so I know that x is 9. And let me just make sure that works. So if I do 9 minus 3, that's 6. And 6 times 10 is 60. So that works. So I'm even going to write 9 feet. Okay, so this one is perimeter again. So we're adding up all the sides, even though it's a triangle. So the sides are just x and then 2 sides of x plus 2. So I've got x plus 2 plus x plus 2. And that's got to equal 13. Now you might have also written it differently. You might have written x plus 2 times x plus 2 equals 13. And that's certainly also correct. Either way, when we simplify it, we're going to get the same thing. So here for this first equation, I know I have 3 x's and then 2 plus 2 is 4. So this would simplify to 3x plus 4 equals 13. And over here, I'd have to do some distributive property, but I should get the same thing. And indeed, I do in either case. So now let's think about how to solve this. I'll solve from this second equation. So I'm going to think in my head, subtract 4 from both sides. So then I've got 3x equals 9. And now I'm going to think, divide by 3 on both sides. And then I've got x equals 3. And my units are centimeters. So here's the answer for this one. Okay, this one's a little bit tricky. So the temperature at 1 p.m. is starting at 35 degrees. You can see it's marked right there. And then the temperature changes by -4 degrees per hour. So at 2 p.m., we know it's going to be 31 degrees. And then it'll keep going down 4 degrees every hour. So here's how I think about that. We've got 35 times -4 times the number of hours after 1 p.m. Right? Because for every hour after 1 p.m., we've got 4 more negative degrees, degrees 4 more times. And I know that I want to know, when is that equal to -1? So I'm going to go ahead and define my variable. I'm going to let h, like the hint says, be number of hours after 1 p.m. Now here's my equation. And all I've done is replace the words I wrote with the variable h. I'm going to put that equation down here so I can solve it. So I've got to get the h term by itself, so I'm going to subtract 35 from each side. And now I can divide by -4. H equals 9. So let me think about what this means. So H was the hours after 1 p.m. So that means 9 hours after 1 p.m. And the question says, how long will it take to reach -1 degrees? So it's going to take 9 hours. That's what I figured out. So the time's going to be 10 p.m. Next question's about bowling here. So it costs $2.50 to rent the shoes, and then each game costs $2.25. You have $9.25. How many games can you bowl? So if you bowl one game, you only have to pay the $2.25 once, and then 2 games you have to pay it twice. We want to know how many games you can bowl. So usually what you're trying to figure out is your variable. I'm going to say G is the number of games. And I know that I'm going to have to pay $2.25 for each game. And I'm also going to have to pay $2.50 for the shoes. And I only have $9.25 altogether. So now I'm going to go ahead and solve that equation. Now I'm going to make sure that I answer the question. I'm not just going to say G equals 3. What the heck did G stand for anyway? Oh, it's the number of games. And the question says how many games can you bowl? So I can afford to bowl 3 games. For a bonus point, if you've watched the video at the very bottom here, write me a note about what your favorite outside activity is at the bottom of your document.